Whoa, a plane crash in Alabama sparks mystery after the pilot goes missing. Ladies and gentlemen, a plane crashed in a field in Baldwin County, Alabama, and the pilot is missing. They don't even know who the pilot is. They can't find the pilot. Authorities come to the scene here to a plane that maybe crashed, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe it was planted there. But this is sparking a lot of controversy. A lot of people are like, what is up? Let me share some information about this plane crash, or is it not a plane crash? And then we will further discuss. Check it out.
We're gathering new details about a mysterious plane crash in Baldwin County. The county's EMA director says no one was in the plane when first responders got there off Gardner Road. Our Natalie Williamson live in the studio with the late reporting. And Natalie, do they know what happened there?
No, they don't, Cameron. Baldwin County EMA Director Tom Tyler said nobody knows how or when the crash happened. Crews were called out to the scene shortly after 10 this morning. And here's that plane. This two-seater Cessna was flipped upside down. It looked like part of the wing was damaged when it made impact with the ground. Tyler says there was broken glass and crews found blood inside the aircraft, but it's still a big mystery on what happened.
It had about 50 gallons of fuel on board, but there was no leaking and no oil that the first responders could see. I've not been told of anybody self-reporting to a hospital or reporting for any kind of injuries associated with this.
Tyler said the FAA is investigating this and will be able to gather information on who owns the plane by looking at the tail number. We'll be sure to pass along any updates as they come in. Live in the studio, Natalie Williamson, Fox 10 News.
At this point, it doesn't seem like a lot of people know exactly what happened here. A plane found upside down in a field off Gardner Road, reported as a plane crash Friday morning. But first responders tell News 5 this crash, or at least a hard landing, happened around 5 o'clock Thursday evening. No one was found in or near the plane that appears to be a two-seater Cessna. Blood, though, was found inside the aircraft, and it's believed the pilot may have been taken to a medical facility in Florida. Meanwhile, it doesn't appear there's any kind of fuel or liquid leakage coming from that aircraft, and it will stay in this field off Gardner Road until federal investigators arrive. On the Baldwin County beat, Debbie Williams, WKRG, News 5.
All right, here's some more information about this mysterious plane crash in Alabama. Plane crash sparks mystery in Alabama as pilot was nowhere to be found. Goes on to say an abandoned blood-stained plane was mysteriously found wrecked in a secluded Alabama airfield with no pilot to be found. Friday morning, the Alberta Volunteer Fire Department responded to a crash in Baldwin County, located on the Gulf Coast just east of Mobile, Alabama, where a small Cessna 182 aircraft reportedly had gone down. But when authorities arrived, they found the small aircraft flipped upside down, bloodstains and shattered glass inside, with no sign of a pilot or anyone else. It was flipped upside down and the occupants were no longer there, according to the Baldwin County Emergency Management Director, Tom Tyler. They apparently had walked away and were transported somewhere. At around 9 a.m. Friday morning, the fire department was alerted to a crash involving a Cessna 182, a lightweight single-engine two-seater plane in a field off Gardner Road and County Road 95. The last known details of the flight's route was recorded in data from Flight Radar 24, which showed the aircraft circling the Orange Beach area before heading north and ultimately vanishing from the radar. First responders and emergency personnel quickly arrived on the scene, prepared to administer first aid to the pilot and, any passengers in the crash, but they weren't there. Nobody was there. Look at this plane. Nobody was there. That is so crazy. However, they found it was completely empty with no occupants in sight, only traces of blood. Images from the crash site obtained by WKRG reveal that the plane's wing appeared to have been damaged, likely from the force of impact. They had about 50 gallons of fuel on board, but there are no leaking or oil that the first responders could see. Upon further investigation, tire marks were also discovered at the crash site, hinting at a more puzzling scenario. Authorities attempted to find and contact the plane's owner and the missing pilot, Initial theory suggests that those on board may have been taken to a medical facility, but Friday afternoon, however, remained unclear whether the occupants have been identified or located. I'm not told of anyone self-reporting the hospital for any kind of injuries. Tyler also mentions that he hadn't heard of any injuries matching the crash. I certainly have not heard from any local hospitals. Although the discovery was made Friday morning, officials later stated they believe the crash occurred around 5 p.m. Thursday evening. The FAA is expected arrival Monday as the situation is not deemed urgent. No one was killed, but it is a mystery. It's a mystery, folks. So, yeah, another plane crash. Who's the occupant of this plane? We'll be looking into this case. Could they get in trouble for leaving the scene of an accident? Is there a law that says you have to stay around till first responders come? If you don't go to the hospital, you got to stick around in the crash site? I would think so, right? I don't know. I didn't do the research. But it is a mystery. Why would a pilot or passenger, two people on this plane, it held two, I don't know if more people were on, why did it just vanish, disappear? Remains to be seen. We're following this case extensively on JLR Investigates. So I have a lot of questions here. Somebody planted a plane? Insurance fraud? Someone stole a plane? You know the tale. They know who the plane belongs to, but we don't got any answers about this. And this happened, now they're saying, Thursday evening. So it's been days now. Today is Sunday, and we still don't have any information, but definitely following this case extensively on JLR Investigates. If you know who the pilot was, tips at JLR Investigates. We love to know the backstory of why somebody would just leave a plane behind after they crashed. I mean, according to Flight Radar, they said there was something in the sky here. Could this have been deliberate? Some sort of scheme here? A hoax? A plot? I have a lot of questions. Someone that wasn't supposed to be flying? Maybe someone flying under the influence that, once they crashed, they knew they would be in trouble if they were drunk, so they'd get and leave the scene. That's the only scenarios that I can think of. What scenarios could you think of? We're following this. Let me know what you think. When anything else comes about this, you will hear it here on JLR Investigates. We cover true crime 24/7, 365. Is it a crime? Let me know what you think. We'll talk soon. JLR Investigates. Stay tuned.